Oh, hi, Gita.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Am
Oh,
I the first one?
no, we also got
Oh.
So,
Patty, Sunie, Harlan, Sander. Hi,
hi,
Sander.
Linda.
Good seeing you.
Hello, likewise.
Hey, Patty. Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
And it's been a long time since I've seen you here, Gita. I'm so happy you're here.
Um, this new job is just quite something to get used to because I go by car a lot. So
Yeah,
when I come home, maybe I'm home at 6 o'clock, but I have a head like this.
yeah,
But it's
yeah,
okay. Yeah.
yeah. I'm happy you're here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Did did you ever see, because it's weird, Orlena's not here.
Hi,
So I
Sunie.
don't know if she got my email. Did you ever see on Discord where she wrote?
No, you can search on her name, can't you?
Yeah, I could actually do that.
Apparently, people have struggled. Hi, Harlan. Struggles finding. And Rod. Hi, good to see you, Rod.
Hi, Todd Pernille.
Hi,
Oh,
good
how's
seeing
it
you,
going,
Harlan.
Harlan? Good seeing you.
And Maureen. Hello.
That doesn't seem to work. If I search for her, I just find like her, but it doesn't show like all the things that she has
Oh,
posted. Social chat. Mhm.
Gita, could you have an eye on Discord? Because
Yeah.
Orlena wrote and she couldn't find the link.
Well,
And
she found the link, but she came early and nobody was here, and so I wrote her back to tell her when it was. But I know she also wrote somewhere on Discord, and I don't think she saw my email.
it's
But
just if you could keep an eye there and see if she writes and then just give her the link.
and anybody
So
else potentially.
on which group would she be writing on?
Anywhere.
I don't know. That's the
Anywhere.
problem.
Okay.
Um, thank you, Patty.
Thank you so much,
Patty just
Patty.
posted.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's get started.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Um, yeah, Lena, is Lena coming today?
She was going to be here for the first half, she thought, but maybe she's
Yeah,
not able to make it.
yeah, yeah. She's having a hand operation today, so send loving kindness to Leela. Lots of love to her hand.
And the rest of her.
And the rest of her.
We
Nah,
normally don't
nah,
have
only
to,
the hand.
only the
Only
hand.
the hand.
All right. So we'll jump right in today.
Oh
So if
yeah.
anybody has questions, comments, conundrums, feel
Things
free to
things you guys are going through.
raise your
We're not
virtual
doing
appendage.
meditation. We're not doing meditation. Toddy has a session today, so we're
I figure we'll leave enough time for
for all questions.
this could be super short if nobody has a question.
Where in the where in the curriculum are you guys at the moment? We just finished the 10th. Better, where are you guys? Is there any hiccups where you're at?
All done with it.
Hi. Okay, I'll say something.
Hi, Maureen. All right, hold on a
You
second.
ask a question.
Let me
Yeah,
spotlight and also spotlight us.
add
Where am
spotlight,
I?
add spotlight.
Why do
Down,
I see
down,
it? Where
down,
is it? Where
down,
is it? Where is
down,
it? Where is
down.
it? Where
Yeah,
is it?
up,
Where is it?
one
Where
up,
is it?
one
Where
up.
is it? Where is it?
Move your finger down.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we are. Could not see that. Thank you.
Hello.
Hey, good seeing
Hi.
you.
So I've been, there's so much available to watch.
Yeah.
I find it really hard to just focus. My intention is to at least listen to 4 and 5 before the January retreat. I've been bouncing around, spending a lot of time on 2. I haven't
Yeah.
done 3 for so so that's where I am, but I I like to take it slow and make notes, which means that
Yes.
um I'm not just kind of listening at any time. I'm only listening when I'm going to be awake and
Yes.
able
Yeah.
to take notes. So that really slows things down. But uh, so that's where I'm at. There's so much in Fetter too that's
Yes.
crazy.
It's great that you're working so much with Feather 2, because what you will realize when you get to 4 and 5 is that all of 4 and 5 are pointing back to 2. Because 4 and 5 is when we think that it's something outside of us that's the issue. You know, it's the politicians and it's the neighbor and it's the weather and it's, something outside of us. But the conclusion in 4 and 5 is that, can anything outside of you create anything in here? And obviously it can't. If it can, you have to go to 2, to the
Right.
second feather. So you working with the second feather is going to make 4 and 5 a breeze.
Okay. I wanted Todd to thank you and Daryl.
Yeah.
I
Mm.
found especially this last uh, video,
Yeah.
um, there was a few things that really clicked around the programming, which has been so helpful to just recognize. Like
Amazing.
forever, I've gotten up with these habitual thoughts that I have been paying way too much attention to,
Mm.
Yeah.
or even, trying to get into the feeling of it, but really they're just recurring programming.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
saying that, I go, okay. And then the other thing that was really helpful was, how do can I support myself?
Mm.
Mm.
What would be self-loving for me?
Yeah.
And that just really zoomed me
Wow.
in such a powerful way that so the last day has been really great.
Oh,
That's
I'm so happy to
amazing.
hear that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maureen. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Really
Just
beautiful.
that space, that it's self-loving to acknowledge the programming
Mm.
Yeah.
and be able to, let that go. And it's self-loving to notice the contraction in my body and recognize that it's just a sensation. And
Mm.
Yeah.
it's just been really helpful to put my
Oh,
attention in that direction. So
That's
so good.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the series too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a thing. We have a tendency when we're doing this kind of work to be very self-negating, which is obviously it seems part and parcel with the idea of recognizing that there's no self. Or Orlena made it. But there's a level where I think what's really important that we maybe don't talk about enough is that once we get to the 10th fetter, we come have that recognition that we don't know whether anything exists, right? We can't say anything for sure about anything. So whether there's a self or no self, or whether there is, you know, an awakening or no awakening, like we can't make any judgments. And the sort of most raw fact that we can come down to, if we can call it that, is that there is an ever-changing series of experiences. And some of those might feel contracted, some of them might feel open, some of them might feel identified, some of them might feel completely disidentified, or one with absolutely everything. Even after so many shifts and insights and waking up has occurred, there's still on one level of speaking, a physical body here that is still working and having a family and interacting with people and filling its basic needs and existing in a world. And there is also a reality where you might not feel that there's a body here, that it can feel like the body can dissolve. There's just sensation. And those two things can coexist simultaneously. So we can also have self-care and self-love for that level of being that is here without having to negate that. We don't have to go to the other polar extreme of absolute asceticism or, self-denial and self-neglect and all of that. And so this is like an appeal to being on both sides of the fence at the same time. We can be open, we can be expansive, we can be non-identified, but we can also be loving and caring and compassionate, not just to others, but also to whatever this is in any given moment. And what this is and what our internal experience of this is liable to change constantly over the course of our lives. And what awakening is really about is just being ever present in whatever state is here with utter equanimity to however it shows up. If it feels like there's a contraction in the body, it's showing up as a contraction somewhere in space. If it's showing up as this feeling of love and care for this incredible organism, which has survived for decades and is, you know, helping do things in the world, wonderful. Have that, compassion and love for that. And it's just that it changes constantly, and it's really being open and accepting to everything, and not denying certain aspects of our humanity and of our way of being, because those are equally true at different levels. It's all kind of happening at the same time. Um, Both a body and a non-body happening here. So we can live in both of those spaces at the same time.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I just am reminded, Pernilla, of a video I listened to, an audio I listened to from Spotify that you had done. I'm not sure when. I only listened to the first part of it. It got a little over my head, but the first part you were talking about the striving within awakening, the and I really recognize myself there.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it comes down to what Todd was saying about it all, just it's being present in the moment with whatever's here, and whatever here is okay. And that was a really helpful first step that left me open to hearing what Todd and Daryl were saying. So
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's really about the whole, if you can say that, goal with the curriculum is for you guys to end in a space where there is unconditional acceptance to what is arising. That there's no resistance to anything that is arising. And if there is a resistance, then at least there's no resistance to the resistance. So it's just an unconditional acceptance of everything, that if you recognize, okay, I still got stuff in the second fetter, then with unconditional acceptance, you go to the second fetter and you just work with lots of compassion and kindness with what needs to be met. Because we tend to create a lot of something out of nothing when we want to be more awake than we are. And it's one of the issues and one of the reasons why we work with the fetters in the wheel of identification, that otherwise if it is a ladder, then there's like something achievable. I can get to a point and I'm not going back. And that just creates that very rigid spiritual arrogance and absolutely no acceptance of whatever is arising. And you cannot see that arising that is happening if we do not accept the arising that is happening. So it's simply getting to a point where we completely accept whatever is, no longer arguing with reality, but just accepting what is. And it's not good or bad. It's just what is. Because we know if we have any idea of it being a good thing or a bad thing, that is just an opinion. That is just completely subjective. In and of its own, that arising, it's just arising, nothing more. And just being in that unconditional acceptance of what is, it's so freeing.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Maureen.
Thank you.
Thank you. So happy you're watching and finding, the stuff to resonating with it.
Yeah, the Daryl one is amazing.
Thank you.
And Orlena, good to see you here. I was just thinking, where was that? Dude. I was just thinking, we have talked about that we wanted to talk to people about all the things that we would need help with.
True.
Should we mention that?
We could, while we're waiting for another question, we could put in our plea for assistance.
Yeah. Because we have there's so many of you that have asked for different things that would be helpful, like having the curriculum, the transcript of the curriculum in a book form, and having more of the stuff as podcast, and creating more small bite sizes of all the things, because we have a tendency to have 2-3 hour talks, and it is helpful when there's a 10-minute snippet of it.
And even having like timestamps
Yeah,
of those
timestamps
2 and 3 hour
yeah. So there's so many things, and we completely see the necessity of all of it. The thing is, if we are gonna start doing all that, there's not gonna be any more new material, because it takes up so much time. And it is stuff that is fairly easy to do. So we were thinking to send it out to the community, if there's any of you that would like to help us with making all this available for people. What we need is, for example, like Todd said, timestamps on videos. If you go in and you watch a video, and there are like things, you watch the video and they're like for example, the 10 pointers is obvious.
Yeah.
Pointer 1, pointer 2, pointer 2, making timestamps for all of it. That would be super helpful if someone would do that, or all of you would do that. When you see it, would do that. But also, for example, with making the transcript, you have transcripts on YouTube, which is very easy. But the problem by just taking the transcript from the videos on YouTube is that it's full of lots of and I have attended my verbal stem as an artist is that's my verbal stem. So that is like all over everything I do.
Also, it doesn't have any punctuation or capitalization
Of anything.
And it gets things really wrong. Like every time she says the word fetter, it shows feta, like the cheese. So there are a lot of
it does not like my accent.
It doesn't get that accent.
It does not like my accent at all. So there needs to be and then Raven was so sweet that she's looked into it and said that Grammarly, they have a program. We looked into Grammarly, but then you have to pay for it.
The free version of Grammarly doesn't do punctuation or capitalization. So effectively, we were wondering actually if anybody was interested in doing it, and if anybody happened to have a Grammarly account that would also be interested in doing it, and that would be wonderful. And we've also talked about the possibility of, like, if it's, if you're really doing a lot of work on it, even offering like a partial subscription scholarship to like one of the retreats in return for your help with doing these things.
Because it is super valuable stuff, but it's stuff that we simply haven't got time to do. Right now, Todd, he's sitting and composing, which is absolutely wonderful.
And finishing up the book and
there's so many things, and we are already starting to plan what we want in the retreats that we're gonna have next year. And it's just all things are just piling on. Also stuff like somebody said that we should, be more on Insta, and there could be like a little click me for videos. But I mean, sitting and posting on Insta is like, so if there's somebody out there that is, want to help us with this and want to be, part of what we do and be part of this team here, then we would absolutely utterly love that, because we really, really need help.
Please send me an email on Fettered Mindfulness and let me know.
And also, if you guys have any ideas about what could be done, we are so welcoming everything, because we have such a huge community with so talented people, so it would be silly not to work together on this. This is not just something we do. This is all of us that is doing it.
Another very small thing, actually, for anybody who's watching the videos, if you wouldn't mind, if while you're watching, especially one of the longer videos, you come across something that seems like a really relevant point to you, something that's like, oh, that's really good kind of in isolation, if you would just put like a little timestamp with a little something that it might be used as like a bite size, so that we get, because we do these things and we'll maybe remember a couple things like, oh yeah, we should probably cut that out because that would be useful on its own. And then we kind of forget by the time we actually get around to
For
doing
example,
it.
somebody asked on Discord, did they ever talk about conditioned co-arising? And I'm like, I have talked about that extensively. I cannot for the life of me remember where. It's somewhere in those 600 hours of video there.
So if while you're watching it, something jumps out at you as being like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that would actually make a really good one. If you could put in the comments a little timestamp and a thing, that would be
Be
super
so
useful.
helpful. Yeah. And also make it more accessible for everybody else in the community. That
Yeah.
would be really good.
Yeah.
I just
Thank
want
you.
to jump
Yeah.
in for a sec. I don't know if Harlan
Yeah.
wants to say
It's
something.
Harlan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, but I can't find the hands signal, and I just wanted to reply to what you were saying. I just wonder because I'm absolutely willing to help in whatever way I can. I wonder if on Discord we can open a new section because
Oh,
then the community can be discussing, and then maybe you can have pointer list of where you'd like help.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Good
if someone,
idea. Yeah. Good idea. Let's do that.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you. Great idea.
super good idea.
Yeah. Thank you
okay,
so much. And then Harlan.
Michelle.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Maureen.
Harlan, let me add you to the
Hey,
spotlight.
Here we go.
let's see.
Hello.
How you been?
Hi, am I unmuted? Have I?
You are.
We can absolutely hear
We
you.
can hear and see you.
Okay,
We're
okay,
good.
good, good. I was just laughing when you were asking for people to do that because that's exactly what I've been doing for, I don't know, probably the past several months. I actually have a Word document that I've created called Todd's Greatest Hits. And
Yes.
and what it is just what you said. I would go to the transcript and I would want to extract out just like the key pearls of wisdom, just the nuggets, and
Oh,
get rid of all the chit chat, the talking, like
yeah.
between you and Daryl or other ones. And then I would use the transcript and I would start reading the transcript for that section. And I said, no, Todd did not say that. That is not what he meant. So then I would go back and replay it and fix the transcript. And just as
Oh
you
my
said,
God.
Pernille, get rid of all the and well, what just the filler words.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've already been doing it. So I could
Oh
forward you
my
the
God.
Word document.
That is
Um,
Please.
absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
That is you a rock star. Absolute rock
yeah.
star.
Oh, we were not
Yeah,
expecting
I'll
that.
send it to you.
Thank you.
It's got to grow a lot. I have a lot of bookmark videos that you guys have done that I have to still go through and do that process with. It takes some time, as you said.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yes,
I'm
it
doing
really
it. I
do.
know how, and I'll send you what I've got so far.
That is
Thank you so
amazing.
much,
That is
Harlan.
absolutely
That's
amazing.
incredible.
That is amazing.
Okay.
So,
Thank you so much. So
Okay.
it's instead of making a document with it, you can just make it under the video so it's available for other people as well when you go forward.
Under the video, you mean like in the comments?
Yeah, if it or am I misunderstanding?
I think it's gonna be too big for that sort of thing. Yeah, because he's
Yeah,
doing
some
like
of
a
them
whole
are.
document of
I know. And rewriting
yeah.
the transcript is not what I mean.
What do you mean? Oh,
When there is some
oh,
pearls of
oh, you
wisdom
mean just
in a
the yeah,
video,
okay.
if you could make like a
Times
timestamp of when he comes with a pearl,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
because then other people that are reading the most people read the comment section, and they can just click
Okay.
on on the timestamp
Oh,
there.
I see. I see. Yeah, yeah. Okay. I'll see. I've never done that, but I'm sure it's not very hard.
Yeah, it's just like 35 and then semicolon and
No, no,
then
full colon.
full colon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the minute and the second that you write. But if you have a full colon in there so it's like 32
Yeah.
colon 45.
Right, right, right.
And when you click enter on the comment, it comes up, and
Hmm.
whenever people click on that, the video goes straight to that point.
It just automatically becomes
Okay.
a full link.
Yeah, I've seen that on video. Okay. The only thing I'm worried about is that wondering about is that I have what's called YouTube Premium where I
Mhm.
pay for it so I don't have to watch commercials.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do, I don't even know. If you have commercials on your video, then would that throw the timestamps
No,
off?
No,
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 not at
you'll
all.
be fine.
The commercials is secondary to the video.
And yeah, and so it doesn't actually
Okay.
factor in. And also, I don't have um I never put
No, we never have
commercials
skippable.
inside the video.
We
It's always there are some at the beginning, but
mid-roll. Yeah,
mid-roll,
we
yeah.
don't have any mid-roll video
Advertising.
advertising in any of our videos because we hate it.
Yeah. It's so
Okay.
intrusive.
Okay.
So we'll have some at the beginning and the end, but nothing in the middle.
All right. All right, good. I'll try that with the ones that I've already gone
That's
through.
amazing.
Thank you
I love
so
you
much.
sitting
And we'll
and
see.
rewriting this transcript. That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're
But there's so
amazing.
many more I've got to do that with. But I'll start, let's start. You got to start somewhere. The first
That's
step and all
you're
that. So
absolutely
we'll send
superstar.
that.
Absolute superstar.
Okay.
Wow.
Thank you,
All
Harlan.
Thank you so
right.
much, Harlan.
You're welcome. While I'm already talking, can
Yeah,
I ask a question while we're
please do.
well already here?
I'm just gonna
Okay,
take this
so
off.
I seem to ask this every time I'm talking to you guys or to Todd. When I say I have a question about the illusion seen through the illusion of separate self, Todd's probably going to roll his eyes and go, "Here we go, not again."
Never, never, never. It's my favorite
Marking on
topic.
this. Okay, so the question is when when the first fetter falls. Okay, so let's say you've seen through this, all right, and but yet several times you said like, well, in the sixth fetter, you'll see through the another aspect of
Mhm.
the separate self, and in the ninth fetter, that's confusing me because I mean, either you saw through it or you didn't. Isn't this
Mm,
like a on or off switch? I mean, either you
no.
how could it how could it still be talking about it in the sixth and the ninth if you've already finished it in the first?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
It's because it's different ways of viewing it. The first one is just that we realize that identification that I have with my body or my gender or my name or where I think that there is a separate me compared to everything else in the world, really noticing that no, there's not. And that's when you don't mind anymore if somebody goes like, there you go, ma'am, to you, you're not gonna get offended or call you Harlem. When they next up is Harlem, you're not getting
Yeah,
offended by it because you're not identifying with your name or your gender or your body or any of that anymore because it's not really that important. It
right.
doesn't say anything about anything anyway. It's just a concept like a chair. So it doesn't really matter.
Understood.
But in the six, that is when we realize that there it's like when I'm sitting here, I can have a feeling that there is something here that is observing Harlan there. And there's like a distance between me here, even though I know there's not a me, but there's a distance between this here that is noticing that there. In the sixth feather, we pick that apart and see, but is that distance really there? Or is Harlan in here? That he's not out there, there's not a separate Harlan out there. It's experienced in my eye, in my brain, the distance of you. If I close my eyes, you're equally close if I have my eyes open or my eyes closed. But when I open my eyes, it's like there come that distance to it. In the sixth feather, that falls away. So
I
there's
see.
no distance between, there's not a subject here and an object sofa here. It's why we're making those small exercises where you close your eyes and you feel your bum and then you notice the sofa. Where's the difference
Right.
between the bum and the sofa? And you can't feel it because there is no difference. It's all in the same sense field. So that's what we are picking apart in the night. In the six. So it's like it's still about that there's still not a Pernille doing anything or experiencing anything. It's just a much more subtle way of experiencing that delusion that we have of a separation that is not there. It's like when you do
Okay.
an inhalation, when is it like outside and when is it inside? When does it become you and when is it out and coming out again? Like that distance is not there. The sum of atom is constant. If you are alive or dead, it's the same. There's not more atoms when you're alive than when you're dead. It's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
that
yeah.
seeing through that extra layer of delusion that we have where we believe in the subject-object division.
And then, yeah,
Yeah, go
that's
on, go
great.
on.
No, and then with the eighth fetter is where once the sixth fetter is out of the way, you can often have those experiences where you feel like either I am everything is looking back at me, or that this is my original face. Like this is, the primordial self that's there, the big S self, which is not doesn't feel like it's even located in the body. It's like when this small self is out of the way, there is just this. And so I am that. That is still a form of identification, though more subtle and less personal. And it's still something which can be seen through. So each step along there is just gradually refining the type of identification. Same with, and you didn't mention the 4 and 5, but even though we talk about craving and aversion or desire and ill will, it's still a type of identification, because it's still, even if the self is out of there, there is still something here which is craving something that's not here, or pushing away an experience that is. So it's still implying that there is something here which wants something to be different. And even if it doesn't feel like Todd is here and Todd needs this to change, there's still something that feels like it's struggling in that moment. So that's
Yeah.
still a type of identification that we can uproot. And that, ironically, there is a certain connection between them, where if we stop pushing and pulling on things, all of a sudden the world kind of becomes less divisive, so it starts to become less dual. There's not the me pushing against it, so that you can then start to kind of blend in together, which is why the sixth fetter becomes much easier when you're not having lots of craving and aversion pushing and pulling on experience. But
Right.
but everything else was the rest of that clear? Because
Yeah. That was good. That was really good. It reminded me that there was I forget which sutra, one of the Buddhist sutras. They were talking about an elderly monk who had supposedly the illusion of self had fallen away, but he was very old. He was on his deathbed, and the other monks
Yeah.
crowded around him and said, "We just wanted to make sure. Are you sure before that you have seen through?" The illusion of the separate self. We've known you so long and you always have. And he said, well, kinda. He said, there's still this faint sort of like picture if a rag had been exposed to some perfume. There's just this
Mhm.
very faint, scent of the self that's still there, but it's gone 99%. So I
Yeah.
guess it's not an on-off switch.
No.
No,
There are different.
it's more like, yeah, like you say, a scent of perfume that is still there. And it's also why in the eighth feather that we're looking at that kernel of an eye, that it feels like that there's something experiencing something here, not an I and not a me, but something that is part of the universe, or that is part of something bigger, where we say, but that is still identification, that there is no one that can be part of anything, because neither
Yeah,
is.
yeah. Yeah, I see. I see. All right. Well, thank you both for helping to tease
Yeah,
that out.
Yeah, yeah, of course. Of course.
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I was I felt like something else was coming regarding the first Fetter one. Yeah, I think the other thing, just to reinforce, to really make sure we're clear on it too, is that the experience that we're talking about is in the first Fetter effectively a binding of different experiences into something which is being interpreted as a self. And I can't remember if we've talked, I know I've said this in different contexts, but basically those elements still maintain. If we're feeling like there's sensations in the body, tension and movement and things like that, which are equating to the sense of self, those still exist. The tension in the body still exists. The feeling of movement still exists. And the mental image of the body and the face still exists. All of the constituent parts that once made up the sense of a self still exist after having seen through it. It's just that they no longer fabricate that additional hologram that used to be taken as just an assumed self. So it's not like something is actually gotten rid of or goes away. It's like yeah, it's almost like if you had, okay, this is, I don't think this is actually how holograms work, but this is just kind of popping up like say see if you can follow this as it's kind of forming in the mind. Say you had a hologram in the middle of the room and it was created by having light reflecting off of a series of different mirrors, right? And it's all converging in a way that creates this seemingly three-dimensional holographic image. Well, if one of those or two of those mirrors were suddenly moved just a hair, the lights no
Right.
longer converge in the same way to create that illusion.
Yeah.
And that's effectively a similar feeling to what happens in here, that you have these individual senses, and you have these sense experiences, but they're no longer converging in the way that used to be, oh, well, that is what it feels like to be a Todd. That's
Mm.
what Harlan feels like as he walks this is when somebody talks to me or when I write my name or when I'm thinking about things that I have to do and feeling that sense of agency in doing it. There's an idea that this is what it feels like to be the Harlan who is making the choice and performing the action and having the associations of when I write the name, that name looks like me. There's some
Mhm.
feeling there. Those mirrors turn just enough that they're still there. The light is still there. The sensations are still there, but they no longer create that optical illusion that once was taken to be the self.
That's actually a really,
Yeah.
really good metaphor.
Thank you.
You nailed that, babe.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was
Not
good.
sure as
That
it was
was
Yeah,
starting to
no, no,
come
no. It was
together.
really good.
Thank
Really,
you.
really good.
yeah, yeah, that was really good. That it reminds me of that. I don't know which Daryl video it was, but when you were talking about this stuff, same stuff, and you were saying like that you hear the sound of your voice and it reinforces, yeah, that's a me that's talking, it's my voice. But if the voice was coming out of the dog sitting in the corner of the room, you say, wait a minute, that's
I
not
forgot
so
I
much.
said that.
It's really good
Yeah.
you're making those timestamps and also Todd he can hear it.
Yeah,
So
good,
he's
good.
reminded of what he said.
It is
Yeah,
surprising.
That
I'll
was
forward
really
you what I've
good.
got.
Huh?
Forward it to you. I'll forward what I've got to you, and then I can
It's
start putting it into the comments.
That's
it's so
amazing.
so kind of you.
Yeah,
It's so amazingly
Okay.
kind of you. Thank you.
thank you so
No,
much.
happy
It's
to
a
do
huge
it.
help also for the community because it is stuff like that that we know is helpful. We haven't got time to do it. We simply haven't got the time to do it.
Yeah, it is time consuming. No, happy to help.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you so
so
much,
Thank
much.
you.
Anne.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So good
Thanks.
seeing you. Bye.
Yay. Yay.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, Sunie's up next. Hello,
Yep.
Sunie.
Hi.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Thank you. And good to see you.
Hmm,
So I I've recently started on Fetter 6 and
nice.
I've just seen a couple of videos there. And my question is that, I mean, if the scene is only the scene and the herd is only the herd, and I'm not supposed to add any labels on it, how how can I then be in the world without endangering myself? It seems very distant for me to just be able not to attach any label on the scene. I try to do it with the audio sometimes because that seems easier than the scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But is it, I mean, I
It's not
don't
it's
think it
you're
can
not
be the
no
intention
no,
to.
you're not supposed to. It's not something that we say is gonna be like that permanently, and you
Yeah.
can no longer drive a car, pay your taxes. It's not gonna be like that. But it's just to see through that delusion, that layer of identification that's on top of it. And you're right, it is easier to do it
Yeah.
with the auditory. It's much easier to do it with what you hear and really pick sound, play with with a sound that you hear that it feels like it's far away, and when you really listen to it you notice that it's not far away, it's right in here. The sound is happening here, but there is that layer that the brain adds to it where you can kind of like estimate a distance or estimate a direction, which is something which is added afterwards. And in that estimation of a distance and estimation of a direction, that is always made with an I in the center, with a me in the center, which is just emphasizing that I am here hearing a dog in the neighbor's yard. So it's just looking through that identification, all the different layers of identification that is in a sound just arising.
But it's just, I don't think it's bad to hear a sound
No,
and say it's a dog. I
no,
just
No.
have to free it to be something else than a dog.
yeah,
It's
But
mostly, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, and I mean, so it is the identification with it. Is it sort of when I limit myself or I make it into an emotion into me and saying, I hate dogs and now I'm getting
Mhm.
afraid, or
stupid neighbor,
It's
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
that's
So,
a further layer of
mm,
it, but I would say the first thing is though that um it's to recognize that the label itself is not the actual thing. So even if you can
Mm.
hear the sound of the dog and then have the label of dog pop up, it's to recognize that that sound itself is not actually a dog. The sound itself is just wah, 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 and you don't actually know where that's coming from. Like in your direct experience, if you don't see the dog there, you're just hearing a sound, it's to recognize that that is just sound. And the label dog, it doesn't even really pertain to that actual sound. That's completely mental fabrication. Now, in fact, it might actually be true, but this is an exercise to really understand how much of our experience is in our direct experience. What is the hearing and the seeing and the or, the heard, the seen and the felt and the tasted and the smelled, and how much of it is our assumptions and our additions and all of the other stuff that we put
All
on
of the
it.
sticky notes we add to it,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's really just to come down to just the sound and be with the sound. And it's okay if those labels pop up, but it's just recognizing that, oh, that's a label. That's another label. I can't see the dog right now. This could be a synthesizer. It could be a speaker playing a sound that
mm,
somebody else made. We know like Hollywood movie effects, we're very rarely hearing the thing that we think we're hearing when we see it, but
Yeah.
the brain puts that together. So just because you even see a dog barking in a movie, it doesn't mean it's even the same dog. We have actually, it's funny. We have a thing which it's kind of come out recently. In the US, our national bird is the bald eagle. And we want the bald eagle to be this big,
Majestic.
domineering, majestic, regal thing. And so when you see videos of bald eagles, it has this like, big
Loud
screech, loud
screech.
screech. In fact, the bald eagle does not have that sound. It has this little, like, puny little chicken voice. But because that does not convey the image that Americans needed to convey, they use
They have
is it a
taken the sound,
red tail hawk or something
yeah,
like
they have
that?
taken the sound of a hawk
They
and put on top of an eagle, and now
yeah,
all Americans think that an eagle sounds like a hawk.
yeah.
Because a
So
hawk sounds more majestic than the eagle. The eagle
yeah.
sounds like a puny chicken.
So so it's where we don't really know what we're hearing and what we're seeing, and we just kind of take it on faith based on it is useful, right? If you hear a barking and it's getting closer to you and it sounds angry, still run. It's like, there's still probably something there. But when we're doing these exercises, it's just to start breaking down those layers of thought and to realize how much I'm actually adding to every given situation in every moment.
And the usefulness of that is obviously not so much in the hearing a dog and picking it apart and that it could be something else and it could be, but it's just noticing the mental formation that you add to a sound. So next time you're speaking with Janice and she speaks with you in a derogatory manner, she has that particularly voice that people have when they speak with you in a demeaning, derogatory manner. You can see, oh, wow, there is Janice's voice and my mental formation about her being derogatory. She's not. That's just
Yeah.
Janice's voice, just like it's just a dog. It's just a mental formation saying that is the neighbor's annoying dog, and it is a dog. And it's just that is where it starts to become useful in a practical application, where you start to see through all the mental formations you add to any of the senses. Because a lot of times we do not see simply the seen and simply the heard. We think that the overlay we have to it, like you say, but when I hear a dog, I know it's a dog, but that is the mental formation. It is just like Todd said, just a sound.
Mm.
So it's about picking it apart.
Yeah. And the reason that I'm asking is also, and I think this probably reflects back to another fetter, because when I have this difficulty of not putting a label on instantly with all that I see and hear and smell and touch and most of the things, then my identification is that when I put the labels on, I do it wrong. I haven't gotten it. And so I assume that is sort of a back pointer to a second fetter.
Yep. Yep, second
Yep.
fetter, because
Yeah. Mm,
there's an underlying belief that you can do
mm,
things right and you can do
mm.
things wrong. And if you do it right or do it wrong, that reflects on you.
Yeah.
That's second fetter.
Mm,
You cannot do anything wrong or right, and there is no you.
mm. Yeah, I assumed. Good. So this is when I get annoyed for the label on
Yeah,
the Fetter 6 on the audio because I do it wrong.
yeah.
So
Back to the
yeah.
second. Don't
Mm,
don't don't move on with the six yet.
no.
Well, yeah. I can recommend you to go back to 4 and 5, because
Mm,
in the 4 and 5 you become very, very clear on what exactly it is about. And that will help you in the second fetter to really pick it apart.
mm,
And I also think that there's um, something about the way that we work with the sixth fetter in this regard, where you do get out of it all the things that we were saying. But I think there's something also where we're effectively like reverse engineering a certain state, because this can happen spontaneously. Sometimes when people see through the first fetter, they also experience that kind of non-dual collapse when all of a sudden there is no separation between here and there. There is no separation between, or there's no label on sounds. The sense fields start to kind of break apart in that way. They just show up as they are without the labels. It can be an experience that people spontaneously have. And it's one of the things that can come from having a lack of that self-identification feeling. But because we don't actually know how any of this works, because nobody really knows what
Ways
causes
of
it or
reading
what,
is no.
yeah. So effectively, what we're doing with some of these things is pointing to the end goal to hopefully have some experiences or some tastes of that end state when there is no label on things and the sensation is just the sensation and there is no separation and maybe things go two-dimensional for a bit, so that you can experience that and it starts to kind of train the brain in a way of being like, oh yeah, I know what that is. That's something recognizable and that we can get into. And I think what we're doing really kind of amounts to that reverse engineering, where instead of having to just meditate for 30 years and hope spontaneously that this happens, or doing some other practice and maybe you're one of the lucky one in a couple million that has this insight spontaneously, we're like, okay, well, these are the things that make up that insight. Let's go into that state intentionally and then have that kind of erode the sense of self that also for some reason seems to go offline when you're in these kind of states of non-locality, no division, no labeling, and all of that. So I think that's maybe another big reason why we do what we do. But it's not that there's anything wrong with it. You're always going to be making labels for things. You're always going to understand what things are.
Mm.
It's just a matter of recognizing that it's also something which is not actually intrinsic to the world around us. The tree is never actually a tree. It is something that is so unfathomable that we just use a very convenient, very simplified sticky note of tree to cover every single tree we ever see in a day. But clearly, not every tree is the same. And what tree is, we really can never actually get down to know. It's some ungraspable mystery that is unique in every instance which it is being encountered. Um, so this is just our way of kind of working our way into that from the back. Does that make sense?
It does, but it's sort of like when you say end goal, it's like, nah, not going there. Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I suppose end goal is probably not the best way to
Not the
phrase
right
it.
way, is
It's
the
not
right
really the
word.
phrase it, but but it's something which happens, all of the awakening experiences are kind of things that are on a potential menu for different people in different
Mm.
uh in showing up in different ways. There's
Yeah.
no real consistency. And so it's something where if you have this urge or push to lose that sense of identity, to have that freedom that comes from um getting rid of that um entrapment of thought and identification,
Mm.
then that ostensibly is our, very loosely defined goal that
Yeah,
we're kind of moving towards, and that's it.
yeah,
But it's going to show up differently for everybody.
yeah.
And
And
so
I figure that as long as I grow and I learn and I enjoy the process, then
Yeah.
that's
then you're
how it
nailing
is.
it. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
exactly. Then you're nailing it.
Yeah.
And I just want to circle back to what we talked with Maureen about, that I do think that the most important part about the awakening path is that unconditional acceptance of whatever is arising. That there's no longer any part of you that is wanting anything else but what is, because you can't argue with reality. So it's just that complete freedom of what is, and then we can have fun in the sixth fetter, and it is the fun fetter, to experiment and all of that. But bottom line of all of it is about unconditional acceptance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thanks, Cindy.
And then it's Rod.
I got Rod.
Oh yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
How you been?
Hi. Just a couple of comments really.
Oh, is
The
that
first
Dover
one
in the
on,
background?
sorry,
Is that Dover in the background?
it's a thing called Seven Sisters. It's in West Sussex,
Oh, yeah.
Lovely.
Heard of it.
near where I live.
Lovely.
That's incredible.
Um, yes, we were talking about the captions earlier on, and I've noticed that the captions that are available in Zoom are actually quite a bit better in some respects than the ones you get on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So they're coming up with punctuation. Some of it is not totally brilliant, but it's better than none. Um, Also, I've noticed that Vince on some of his Zooms is posting the dialogues as presumably the output from the subtitles on Zoom.
Yeah.
So that may be a way of getting some sort of better quality stuff.
Yeah, for the
Did,
Zoom, well, for our Zoom sessions, that would be great.
yeah. How
Uh,
how do you get captions on Zoom?
well, we have the transcripts that we
Yeah,
get,
but they
but
they don't catch me at all.
yeah, they do have an issue with her accent.
They
I
really haven't.
it's
Everybody
quite
has an issue with my
it's
accent.
quite good with mine, but
Yeah.
it's not so good with hers. Um, but yeah, it's
Oh,
true because if the funny thing with Zoom is that it depends on where if you record to the computer, it doesn't do transcriptions. You have to record to the cloud. We have to try that because there was an issue with the
Just
spotlighting not showing up right when we record to the cloud, which
yeah.
is why we started recording to the computer, but then that doesn't give you the option to do
Yeah,
transcripts.
transcripts.
It's a bit of
I,
a,
yeah, I was just looking at it a few moments ago, and it was doing a pretty good job on both of them.
oh,
You
that's
know,
amazing.
on Todd and on Pernille.
Oh, amazing.
So it's doing, so
Yeah.
if we go to
Where's that?
captions, oops, sorry, did not mean to do that. Um, Captions. Okay. Is this, let's see, can I see it? I can't see it. Show
Show
captions. Oh, here we
captions.
go.
So
It probably needs
there we
someone
go.
to talk.
Yeah,
Are you seeing anything there now?
yeah,
Me
yeah, we
talking?
are.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
yeah, it's actually quite good.
Yeah. Okay, my second comment was just listening to Sunie there and her first thing about the perceptions, as described in the Bahaya Sutra. Um, I've did some work on that well, I don't know what fetter it was exactly, but I noticed that in some sense there seems to be a kind of an automatic mechanism that kind of like with every perception generates another sort of thing, like
Yeah.
a sort of evaluation machine first, and like someone who's understanding the evaluation and all that sort of stuff. Uh, I haven't gotten to the bottom of it yet, but I'm sure there's some potential in that.
Yeah, spot on. It is so interesting how for one thing, it's a clue for us that we can't be um taking it personal in some way, as like she had said, it's not a personal failing that these things are popping up. It is like the mechanism of the brain to be noticing, assessing, categorizing, deciding whether it's something which we need to run away from or go and eat, and then um, you know, sort of proceed from there. And it is such a fast, unconscious process that happens. And it takes just that. Well, it seems to be easier when that selfing mechanism is out of the way, at least temporarily. That it seems like having that more raw experience is at least possible for shorter periods of time where things can just kind of pass by without that grasping that is attached to it. And I think there's an issue where um, some of that categorization does come from our urge to apprehend and to grasp and to want something or to need something. And so as those mechanisms are also offline, then it's just this very slow or quick, depending, arising of sense experience, sense experience, sense experience, and it doesn't necessarily have that sense of apprehension of where I'm apprehending what the thing is and trying to categorize it into something else. And even if a verb or a name does come back for it, it's just a word. It's just another sound, which in itself can be recognized with that same detachment that it's just a voice in the head, or it's just a mental image. If I hear a bird or I hear a chirping and then I see a bird in the mind, it's to recognize that that image of the bird is just as much a visual mental image as any other image that I'm seeing, and that itself is not a bird. That itself is definitely not the bird that I'm hearing, if it is, in fact, even a bird that I'm hearing. And
And sorry.
yeah, no, go, but yeah, sorry.
No.
It was just to tease apart each one of those experiences and allow it to just be its own sense experience for whatever split second or longer that you're able to have it just be that thing.
I also just want to say that in the lower fives we spend a lot of time and energy on really discerning the difference between mental formations and sense experiences. And in the higher fives, we're even dissolving that.
Yeah.
For example, if you feel your foot right now, not looking at your foot, but just feel your foot, you feel your foot, and then you have like this mental formation of a foot. You have a sense of a foot. But if you remove that and just feel how the foot feels, you can feel that you're not feeling foot shapes. The sensation in your foot is not foot shaped. It's just
Yes.
sensations. But you don't notice that until you really slow down and zoom in and go like, oh my goodness, I can't even trust my own senses, you know? I feel my foot. I think I feel my foot because when I really look into it, it's not foot shaped, and the foot I'm visualizing, it might not even be my foot. Just like you said with the bird that you hear, the chirp that you hear might not even be the bird type of bird that is saying that sound. So we even that is just whatever the mind makes up. Is like complete gaslighting us into believing that you feel your foot right now. This is how a foot feels. But if you really, really look after it, check it, it's not.
Yeah. I mean, interestingly enough, it's kind of like the brain's sort of captioning mechanism, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Really bad captioning.
Yeah, spot on metaphor.
Spot on.
Really, really good. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay, thanks for that.
Yeah,
Thank you so
for
much,
that,
Rod.
Rod.
And
Saad.
Saad.
That's Spotlight. Hello.
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 How have you been?
I've been good, I
Good.
think. I've been I've been going through the Fetter curriculum. I've been through all the first three in terms of the lectures. Um I actually don't know where I actually am. Like I'm just kind of reviewing the first three now again. And I mean I have no idea like how to because I mean, it's clear that I'm not my thoughts. It's clear that I'm, not the sensations that come and go. Um, after that, it's like my tendency has always been like kind of like I feel like it's always there. I'm always trying to go there, get there, something like that. And now it's like, oh, there was never a there, and it's always
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And I just can't seem to like really relax into here. Here is still very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I'll do a lot of like I mean I'll spend a lot of time practicing usually just self-inquiry, just trying to sit with that. But I find that I'm just even the more I mean it just doesn't seem like there's any relaxation or any sense of comfort with here.
Mm.
And yeah.
Do you have a sense of what is causing the discomfort in any given moment? Like right here, right now? What is uncomfortable?
I mean, I tried to investigate, like, okay, so I mean, why am I doing this? I'm doing this for peace, and like, okay, so what is not peaceful here, like right now? And whenever I look, it's like nothing really. I mean, there's uncomfortable sensations, but then if I'm not the sensation, there's a lot of room for them,
Mhm.
and then like kind of, but it's just like I don't know. There's like a craving for some, maybe there's a craving for pleasure, or I'm guessing, or there's a worry that oh what if I'm duping myself, maybe that's also a thing that comes up a lot,
Mm.
like when you were talking about the sound, and on one level it does make sense that there's just sound appearing, and but then there's another, like there was my this morning I was practicing and like there was a sound of the water heater turning on by itself, and then first I was like, okay, well that's just sound, appearing, and I'm anchoring it with like I've noticed this recently where I'm anchoring things to like somewhere here,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
then it's like I'm here and the sound's over there, and there's like a mental image,
Yeah,
distance, and
yeah.
the whole.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well both of those are seen or noticed, and but then there's like also the simultaneously is like, yeah, well, but there's also like a mechanism in the water heater where it drops below a temperature and then it turns on, and so I'm just like, I think that's the confusion is that everything is made of consciousness or aware. Like every experience that I can notice is made of that. But at the same time, is it now? It's like, is it really there, or is it just such a tightly perfect illusion, or is it? I don't know. I mean, is there a question here that makes sense? Because I'm
Yeah,
Yeah,
somewhere like,
yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. You're making very much sense.
um, it feels
We,
like everything has like very. I mean, I have a scientific thought
yeah.
process a lot. It's like, oh, everything is it works, and it works because if we manipulate it a little bit, it works the other way. But at the same time, it's also all just consciousness. I don't know, and that's like where I'm kind of feeling confused.
Were you, I think you came in after we talked to Maureen today. Were you here when we talked to her?
No,
Uh,
I wasn't able to make it till
That's okay.
after.
No, but I think I said something similar to her that might be, relevant to you is that when we are doing any of these practices, it's to recognize that what we experience is never to be taken as proof of some external veracity, some external truth that is, I can understand what's really out there because I'm experiencing it here. And just because you can experience something on a meditation cushion doesn't make it more real than experiencing something when you're walking in the world or lost in thought. What we're really doing is finding that the way that we have normally taken our experience to be, right? Like, I am my thoughts, I am my body, this is me and my name and all of that. We recognize more and more that, okay, that's not the only truth. There is an element where that sometimes is in play, that sometimes exists, that there is a physical body here who is actually walking through the world and interacting with people and animals and plants and all of that, who eats and works and all that. But there's also a level where you can experience that there is no body, that the body dissolves, that what you take to be a body is not actually the way that it is, that the birds that you think you hear are not actually the way that you're experiencing them. You can have those experiences where everything dissolves, where all of um, time and space seem to dissolve. You can have experiences where it feels like you are the fabric of the universe, where you are spread out as far as can be. And all of those things are experiences. But just because you can feel it, it doesn't mean that it is absolutely true. So what we effectively learn to do is to live on with all of these truths at the same time. That there is a level where you are still, after being completely awake, going to hold down a job, going to have a family, going to do life, right? You're still going to pay taxes and work and do all of that stuff. And that still functions in the same way that it always has. The internal experience of it might hopefully be different than it was if you were really, struggling and racked with anxiety and insecurities and things like that. Hopefully that will be a very different experience for you going forward. But those things are still here on one level of speaking. On another level of speaking, we know just through science that the body is not really just a body. It's a collection of atoms and bacteria and subatomic particles and quarks and all these things. We don't even know what's at the root of that. So that's another base level of reality, which, if you have the right equipment, you can kind of see these things. You can have those experiences that what you took to be you is not this just located small little identity locked in a box of a body, but it can also be incredibly expansive and go way past the boundaries of imagination. And you can have all sorts of experiences. And those can be there and those can inform each other so that as you're going through life, you have that spaciousness where I'm not locked into believing that everything is always about me. Even when you're working and you're having a shitty day at work and, things go bad or somebody dies, there's still this perspective because you can also experience life from different planes at the same time. They're all there for you. But it's also to keep us grounded where we also still take care of the body. We still do the things. We still, when the water heater is making a weird sound that, go, oh, that doesn't sound like it's supposed to, then we know to go check it because there might actually be a problem with it. It's not just sound in that moment, it's a faulty water heater. And so it's being able to play with all of those at the same time, that they're all available because none is effectively more real than another. And just because we experience it is not a way that we can determine what is absolutely real outside of us or not. We can have all sorts of hallucinations of things that aren't here that feel absolutely real. So we just can't lock into that. So there's a level where all of it is true and none of it is true. Does that help?
Yes, a little bit. I have a kind of a follow-up related to it.
Absolutely.
This is from like the bubble of reality kind of thing, where so I mean it's like looking at things from different perspectives, like really is I mean yeah, what am I trying to say?
Mhm.
See, I think so. I'm just going to try to describe this a little bit. Whereas, like, I have these things that have happened in memory or in past, or like there's these beliefs that these things happen to me.
Yep.
They're not helpful, like
Mm.
really. And then but there's like, I think that, looking at things the way, it's presented in the course, and it's like, oh, well, maybe this didn't even happen this way, or maybe I have a false memory, or I don't know. But it just seems so like there's like a resentment that's like holding on, even though it's not very logical. Like if I investigate it, like, even like there's like, but basically, so to summarize it, it's like bad things happened, also good things happened. But if I look at the good things, it's way more than, I mean, I guess logically, like the good things are, a lot. And then the bad things are also, like, can't be let go of somehow.
Mm.
I'm just having trouble with that balancing. It's like these bad things, like, because I think that I want to let go of those bad things, but there's like a fear of like, oh, am I gaslighting myself, or like, am I just, yeah, yeah, that's something that I just am having a really hard time with.
I think that what is helpful with the way that we work with memories and past experiences and traumas, and the way that we work with it in the feathers is really helpful because we're not focusing on the story. Um, as a therapist, we focus a lot on the story, and we talk and we talk and we talk and we talk about the story. But it's not really, really helpful because the story is just a metaphor for a feeling that is arising right now. And talking about the story is kind of a diversion from what is actually the issue. So when you have a memory of something, you're at work, somebody says something, and it reminds you of your childhood, and the feeling of shame or guilt or whatever that came up then is the same feeling that comes up now. Now, we can sit and talk about the childhood shame and guilt forever and ever and ever, but it's not helping you. It's not, like you said, it's not helpful. What is helpful is seeing that then, when it happened when you were a child, you were not emotionally mature, you were not psychological stable, you didn't have the intellectual maturity. None of that was there at all. You do now. So you can go into that feeling of shame and guilt that you had then. You can go into that now and see that this is not indicative of any fault or failings here. It was a feeling that arose once. Back then, if there had been an adult in the room, I would have been comforted, I would have been supported, and whatever sadness or shame that I felt, the adult in the room would have said, "It's completely okay, my love. It's fine. You don't need to think about it. It was just the blue beads with the yellow beads. You didn't do anything wrong." But then it was felt like shame. I am shameful for making this mistake. And that is what we are carrying with us. So whenever something is happening at work and we feel that feeling of shame, it just feels so old, 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 old. And instead of looking into the story about the beads back when you were a child, just see, okay, right now I feel shameful. Have I done something wrong? Have I hurt somebody with what I did? Do I need to apologize for what I have done? And just keep it at that very adult, mature level, seeing that, okay, yeah, I did hurt somebody. Apologize, make up for it, and move on. And if it's something where it's more about you being reminded that you are insufficient and that you are not, you know, and that you are, yeah, insufficient and inadequate and you are not okay, and you feel all of that, that you can question, but is this true? Am I inadequate? Is it possible for anyone to be inadequate? What happened in this situation at work where somebody said something? Am I inadequate? Is it a failing about me? Or am I just reminded about something that needs to be met with compassion, love, and kindness? Because a lot of times, what we are actually experiencing now, it's not at all what we think it is. We got tears in our ears and we hear something that is not said at all, and we're reacting to the internal feeling that we have of inadequacy. But if you really, really look at it, pull yourself up to the fifth floor and look at it with adult eyes, with mature eyes, are you really inadequate? Or is it just a thought about you being inadequate? Can you be in a body that feels like you feel now? And then you do all the things that we are talking about, where you start to, okay, how does inadequacy feel in the body? well, I have a contraction in my chest, I have like a knot in my throat, and I'm slightly nauseated, and it's really, really not. This is how it feels. Well, if you take your shoulder back and you take your chin up and you do a deep inhalation and relax, is the inadequacy still there, or is it just about muscular tonus? Because a lot of times those things are connected, and it happens so quickly that we don't even have the time to slow down, zoom in, and see what is actually here. So somebody said something at work, immediately you did that, and this posture here goes alongside with feelings of inadequacy and shame. But if you pull yourself up, you feel into the muscles, and you stay with your maturity that you have now, you can see, oh, wow, okay, this is not connected at all. The muscular tension that I had about shame is not connected with shame. Shame is not a thing, it's not real. I was thinking before when you said that it was really uncomfortable being here now. And another thing that is important to look at is the expectation we have to what it means to be here. Because a lot of times when we talk about being present in the moment, we kind of like expect unicorns, rainbows, and happy smiles on our faces, and and when we are here now, the majority of times it's more neutral than anything.
Yeah.
That whatever is arising is a neutral arising. We can add labels on it that makes it positive or negative, or makes it, nice or not nice. But in and of its own, most things are completely neutral. So a lot of times we have an expectation to what being present in the moment, what that actually means.
Yeah.
And reality does not live up to that expectation.
It does not. No, I love that. I was just going to say, and also if there's discomfort there, it's just a call for you to look more closely at that discomfort, which it sounds like you've been doing, where it's like, well, what isn't peace right now, or what isn't, and there's really nothing. Even if you feel that there's like tension in certain parts of your body, or a little friction or grumbling feeling or something like that, if you don't immediately label those as being a negative issue, there's a problem, I'd rather it not be here, I'd rather not feel the body at all. If you can just feel those sensations with the exact same kind of equanimity as we hear that sound coming from the bird, it's just recognized as, oh, that's just one more appearance in this given moment that doesn't have any more weight or negativity or anything to it. Even things that we classically think of as pain or discomfort, they're still just available for your attention to really see past that label and initial rejection. But I agree that, at the most we generally come down to like neutrality. It's just contentment. We're not really aiming for like blissful highs. It's just like, okay,
Cruising.
things are just stable.
Yeah.
Things are
Stillness, simplicity, and contentment. That's like the max of it. But it's all I just want to circle back to that part about the body again, that when we find out that contraction we have in the body is connected with a feeling of inadequacy, for example, then really noticing it is just a contraction in the body. It's not inadequacy. Inadequacy is not a thing. It is a contraction in the body, and that contraction in the body can be, loosened and loved, and it's completely okay that it's here. And then it's just back to neutral.
Which fundamentally also points to the fact that anytime we do have discomfort like that, there's probably a thought attached in some way. You can't have inadequacy without a thought, and you can't have like pain that you are struggling against without some kind of thought attached to it that's making it into something negative. And so when you find that you're having those times, I assume you're finding that like when things aren't a problem, when things are just okay, do you find that there's no real thoughts happening that seem to be an issue in that moment?
When things are okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, thoughts are usually often happening. I don't know if I can ever say that they're like there are maybe seconds of like maybe like
Yeah.
in the last month or so I can remember like there was a some time I was like, oh, wait, this is actually kind of quiet, but for the most part they're happening. And they're yeah, usually not very I think they're not yeah, they're I think their just tendency is not to be very satisfied. Or like oh yeah, just but I think they yeah, I'm gonna try to really. I mean, I think would it be helpful to even like bring up the things that are like the question like inadequacy or anything and bring it up and then really just like see what comes up in the body and just
Yeah,
I think that's what I'm
really ask the question, are you sure that you are inadequate? Are you sure about that? Are you sure that you are shameful? Are you sure that you are guilty? Are you sure that you're fearful? Really, really look into it, or is it just an idea that you are repeating and repeating and repeating? In actuality, because none of them are real. None of them are real. And when you say that, you said something, I was thinking 4-5
Mm.
about it. What was it?
Just this last
Yeah, yeah,
one.
yeah.
Um,
It was something about that in that where you said that I can't I'm completely misquoting here, but you said something about that in the most of the time there's
thinking.
yeah discontentment or thinking and not okayness that is happening. Even that is not real. Even that is a thought that there's something that you think could be different than what is here. And that what is different is so much better than what actually is here. But that, and when you go to the fourth and the fifth fetter, you're going to work with that because that is just another thought. That there's no alternative to what is here. This is it. This is as good as it gets. Congratulations, Saad. You got it.
Um, oh, I
thinking.
just wanted to say, sorry, before I forget too, that we're never actually saying that, all thoughts are going to go away or that they need to go away. It's the thoughts themselves are not a problem. They can be there all they want. It's the assumption or the belief in the thoughts. It's the assumption that they are actually saying something that's true. So if you have the thought about inadequacy and then you feel that sensation in the body, it's only because you're believing that thought. The idea of inadequacy could pop up. It's a concept like anything else, like gravity or something. But it's just a concept. Like the idea of gravity doesn't cause you daily distress, but the idea of some sort of insufficiency or not being good enough in some way, that does. So it's because that is being believed in a way which isn't just a concept. It's felt to be meaningful, and it's largely felt to be meaningful because it has that physical contraction that accompanies it every time it shows up. If you thought about gravity and every time you thought about gravity, you got a pain in your foot, you would start to have negative associations with the idea of gravity too. So it's like Pernille was saying, just recognizing that there's a sensation and there's a thought, and those two are not directly connected. That the thought about inadequacy and sufficiency is just a mind noise that goes through, which is then made into something more than it is.
Mm. Yeah.
Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
No worries. Good to see you.
Good. Yeah, it's good.
Any other follow-ups on that?
Um, yeah, I mean, when you're describing it, I'm gonna have to sit and do it. But like, is there fear? Is there inadequacy? Is there not okayness? I think like even as you were just describing it, I could hear like my thoughts like, yes, there is, and there's like very confidently, loudly saying that, and they're also saying like it's not just blue beads. They're also like comparing like the level, like the
Yeah.
memory and the beads, comparing it to the beads, and like this is not like a beads issue. This is a bigger like issue, and
It's a real issue. It's a real
yeah,
issue. Yeah, it's not just bees. It's like it's a real thing. And if people heard about it, then they will understand that the rest of us we might not have anything like real going on in our lives, but what you have, that is like a real issue.
That's what
I
it's saying, and
I
it's
get
also
Yeah.
that.
in theme.
I get that. But the thing is that all that is a lie, and it's kept there for you because you're gaining some. Now I'm getting really unpopular here because you're gaining something from it. If you from now on only talk about your childhood as amazing, not just like gaslighting yourself, but really saying that was the best childhood a child could have. Yeah, it was complicated and difficult, but it led me to where I am today. I am absolutely, absolutely grateful and never ever talk about anything bad or think about anything bad. And part of you will think, but hang on, if I don't do that, then I'm going to miss out. There's something that I'm not achieving anymore. There's something that I'm not getting anymore. If I cannot, if I cannot I don't know you have my childhood as an excuse to behavior I have today. I'm super depressed. I have lots of anxiety, and everybody in my family understands because of what happened to me when I was a child. So now you have like a carte blanche. You don't have to go to family reunions. You don't have to do any of that you don't want to do because everybody understands that. But no, we can't do that. Sad he doesn't feel well today. So there's a lot of benefits coming with our stories, and we need to acknowledge that as well, that it's okay to be manipulative like that, because we do it because we don't in the moment believe that we have the power to say, I don't want to go to the family reunion, or I don't really feel like it, or I don't feel like socializing, or I don't, you know, we believe that the stories are there to make our life easier now because we don't believe we have the power right now. So it's also looking into that.
Back when
Looking
I was,
into the benefits for
yeah.
what I'm getting out of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Back when I was agoraphobic, it was very useful in a lot of those kind of ways. It kept me from, it was a very easy excuse to get out of doing a lot of things that I really didn't want to do because I knew I was going to have a panic attack if I went, and everybody else knew that I had anxiety disorders and agoraphobia. So I'd be like, so sorry, I can't, I can't go there. It would just be fine, off the hook. So there were absolutely benefits to that in that regard.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is also um the way that we define ourselves, that can
Yeah.
be enforcing that identity of who we are gets really built from these stories that we maintain. And if we start to either question the stories or not make them the centerpiece of our existence, it can leave us in kind of an unstable place where I don't really know who I am or what I am. And for this kind of practice, that's actually a wonderful thing, but it can be a little bit scary. And the other thing I was going to say about all of these things, when that voice chimes up to say, "Oh, but that was real," that was a real issue, and it was a look in the room around you. Where is it now?
Yeah. I was
Is
just
it
about to say
is it
that.
actually still here? We hold up on these things like, well, that happened when I was 7 and it was really real and it definitely happened. Okay, but you're not 7 anymore. You're not there. It's not actually here. It's not actually influencing everything in the room around you right now. Whatever happened is gone. Whether it happened the way that we thought it did or not is sort of irrelevant because the fact is it's no longer happening. And in reminding ourselves again and again to come back to what is actually present and that it's not defined in this moment by a memory of something that I think happened back then. Whether it did or not, again, it can be. And there can be associations that the mind, even if things didn't happen to us that we thought happened to us, the mind doesn't really know the difference. So you could have behaviors that are built in because you believe something happened to you that didn't, and that's still going to be influencing your behavior now. It doesn't really matter whether something happened or not, as long as we believe that it did or it didn't, because then the mind is just taking that on and it's using that to predict and to create behaviors. So looking at where you are now, you see what is actually relevant to this moment. And if the mind churns out some idea about, well, you really are in inadequate because you did this way back then, and this is just proof of it. Okay, but where is that proof now? Where's the proof right in this room that I'm actually inadequate, that the concept of inadequacy has any meaning or relevance to anything? investigate that, because that's reprogramming essentially this mind that is taking in, it's working from what's happened in the past or what it's believed has happened in the past. And now we're giving it new coding every moment. And this is effectively what we're doing, is constantly rewriting and re-updating that code so that it doesn't keep using this old software anymore. We have much better improved software to work from.
Yep, I love that. I love that. I'm really, really happy that you brought it up. It's that part about in your direct experience right now, when you said before that there's that discontentment with what is here right now. In your direct experience right now, with the next inhalation, what is wrong? What is in your direct experience in the room you are now, in the body you sit with right now? What is missing in this moment? And now you exhale. What in that moment is missing? What is it that is not like you want it to be? And is there any alternative to this inhalation and this exhalation? There is nothing else. The rest is mental formations, thoughts about the past and thoughts about the future. And that is giving us those, feelings in the body. But if you completely accept, okay, thank you very much for the input, let me just look at what is actually present right now in my direct experience. What do I see? What do I hear? What do I smell, taste, and touch? It's the only thing that is here right now. And there cannot be anything missing in any of that. The only thing that can give you a feeling that something is missing, it's a thought about something.
Mm-hmm.
All thoughts are about something. And it's that about that gives that, dissonance, that there's something right now that is not like it is. But that is just removing us from this moment that is just exactly like this moment is.
Okay. So it doesn't, I guess I mean, when you said the 7-year-old thing,
Mm-hmm.
so I guess it's a 7. So, I mean, again, the story, I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to tell you the story that comes up.
Please.
It's like, so it doesn't really matter if it's 7 or 27 or the whole time between 7 and 27 or even this morning. Like, so it doesn't, essentially the 7 and, 2 minutes ago is equal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, yeah. And then I think as you were talking, Pernille, I realized that it takes all of that history and whatever, and then the reason it seems to be uncomfortable is because it's expecting similar or concerns and then projecting out a future.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yeah,
But all of that is just thoughts about that topic. It's just
mhm,
thoughts about the topic. It's not what is actually arising right now in your direct experience. None of that is here.
mhm. So, I mean, I think I'm gonna try to sit with that as well and just, see, okay, what
Yeah.
am I concerned about that will happen, that because it happened last week, it'll happen again, or
Yeah, exactly.
what about when things are actively happening in the moment, like, right, if
But for
like,
example, I love that you're bringing it up because it's always the one that but there is a difference. There is a difference. Like you're come with an example. You're at the dentist and you're sitting in the chair and you're waiting for the dentist to come in and you have clammy hands and your heart is beating because you hate being at the dentist. What in that moment right now is so uncomfortable that it is calling for discomfort and fear and all of that? All the thoughts are about when the dentist come in. Right now you're just sitting in the chair. Then the dentist come in and he says hello. What in that moment is unbearable by a man in a coat saying hello? Nothing. Okay, you lean back, you open your mouth, the light is in your eyes, and he's sitting still and talking. What in that moment is unbearable? And when he starts to drill, what in that moment is unbearable? Are you sure it is as unbearable as you have made it up to be? Is there anything right now that you cannot handle? And anyone that has chronic pain or anything like that, you guys know that sometimes pain can be unbearable. And the only way to be with it is not to think about this is going to be my life for the next 20 years, but just notice this is reality right now and right now and right now. It's just a little bite of a right now. And even being to the dentist and having root canal or whatever is happening, even in that moment, that is bearable. It is absolutely bearable. What is unbearable is when the mind starts to compile and then, because we think we need to deal with all that now, but we don't. Whatever is happening right now is bearable, no matter what it is. Anybody that has given birth know that.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah. I think that was an excellent example, and it's really about just remembering moment to moment how much you are putting on any given experience that you're in. So even if somebody is there and they are saying something to you which makes you feel inadequate, feel into the body in that moment. Feel the raw bare sensations that we are attributing to that feeling of shrinking inadequacy. And just notice that even in that moment as just sensation. Notice the thoughts that are coming up and feel really who this is talking about. Where is this pointing to? Each of these moments is an opportunity for inquiry where you can look back and go, all right, there's this idea of inadequacy. Who is the one that's inadequate? And then turn that attention back towards whatever seems to be the inadequate one, so that in that moment, you can have that flash of it can't be found. Like literally, where in this whole body mind organism can the inadequate one be found? What are we talking about? Are we talking about a series of behavior? Because if so, where is that series of behavior found? It's only one fleeting behavior, one more fleeting behavior, and it's just an association that we draw this line and say, well, there's an organism over there that tends to create certain behaviors. Some of those happen in a certain way. So I'm going to say that behavior is inadequate because those behaviors don't add up to what I think it should be. First of all, that's an external assumption of what an organism should be producing, or doing. So that's a completely biased and irrelevant judgment to begin with. And again, it's just a pattern of behavior that the pattern itself doesn't even exist. Each one is an independent behavior that we, because of our pattern recognition minds that we have, just start lumping things together that are kind of similar and go, oh, well, of course, it's Saad's, pattern. He always acts like this in every situation. We just come to expect that from him. No, that's an assumption based on a gross overgeneralization of memories of what might or might not have happened in the past, and then projections about what might happen in the future. So just recognizing in every moment that you can turn back towards that which is supposedly depressed or inadequate or fearful or whatever, and really feel into like, what the hell am I talking about?
Yes.
What actually is that thing that is supposed to be here that has that label on it? And then that investigation in that moment can give you that moment of freedom where it's just drops away.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So good seeing you.
Really, really good.
That was a really nice talk.
I'm
happy Saad came.
Me too. We got Patty.
Yay.
Hello, Patty.
Hello, Patty.
Hi. Hello.
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 And thank you. We are our own manicurists, but thank you for that.
I need your help. So just a couple things. I was thinking regarding the timestamps. I don't see anywhere as we're live, because I'd be more than happy to write down the timestamps as we're live. Because then, but I don't see anywhere where there's a clock ticking that I can.
No.
So, it's in the videos.
I mean, I suppose
Yeah.
while we're
Okay.
doing it live, it would be a little bit off, but it would be close. Well, unless we change it. I was gonna say, because we always start basically at noon. So we would always know it's a certain number of minutes in from noon, but
But you would need to go to the video and write it in the comment section with the timestamps.
Yeah, and I was just thinking if we edit anything or cut anything out,
Yeah,
that would
yeah. If
change that.
somebody
Yeah,
wanna
Oh,
remove something
that's right.
afterwards, then
that would
yeah.
change it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway, just a
good thought
thought.
though.
Thank you.
Um, but I want to talk about
Yes,
caffeine.
yes.
Go on.
And I love coffee and I love the culture around coffee. We buy our own green beans and we roast it here, and we have a great espresso maker.
That's
So I
amazing.
drink a lot of coffee. Like I'm already on cup number 4. But I do wake up in the middle of the night. And part of me is like, but you love waking up in the middle of the night, Patty, because this is your time. You're all by yourself. You get to watch the stars and the moon, and you get to meditate. And so is that like, oh, I could be telling myself a story, or so and so sometimes that's 3 hours in the middle of the night. I get up and I have another cup of coffee, even if it's
Wow.
1 a.m., 2 a.m. And then I follow it with water because like, oh, you can't have coffee in the middle of the night. So I I could be an addiction.
It's
Maybe
possible.
But
try,
I love meeting my friends for coffee. I mean, it's oh my, I just love the coffee culture.
but you can have decaf. See,
Yeah, I
see that
suppose.
that
Yeah.
exactly indicates the addiction of it. Because if it's the
Uh,
coffee culture, and if it's, making roasting your own and meeting with friends and having the coffees and it's so nice, you could have decaf. But when you have that, no, 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 no. It's
yeah,
because it's addiction.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the only way out of this is to try decaffeinated.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I guess,
but really acknowledge, caffeine addiction, it's a big one because we have in our culture, we love productivity and efficiency, and we love when we are do, and we measure our own value in what we can and say and do, not who we are.
No.
And when you get off caffeine, you will have a dip before you go into a normal. And the normal is less efficient and less. It's like if you're on speed,
Yeah.
you are less efficient when you're not doing speed. So it's just acknowledging that if you don't want to do any lines, you will be less efficient. And it's the same with caffeine. It's the same with caffeine. So it's really acknowledging that we have a culture that is um promoting that type of behavior that comes with a caffeine addiction.
yep.
There's also,
Okay.
sorry, I was going to say also, it's always relevant when we're dealing with any addiction, regardless of what it is, to note that the addiction itself is never really
The issue.
the issue.
It's not the
It's not the
problem, it's the
caffeine.
solution. Yeah.
Exactly. It's not the caffeine that's really a thing. So it's very likely that if you do get off of the caffeine, which again does certainly have its benefits, and I would recommend if you are up for it, maybe trying it, but just recognize if something else jumps in to
Yeah.
take the role of that caffeine was playing. And it could be literally anything. I mean, it can be food or gambling or, anything.
Nicotine.
Yeah, it could be anything because that caffeine is serving a purpose. For one thing, it's probably numbing you in a way, but it's giving you something where if you feel like uncomfortable in this moment, well, I can fix it. I can go get a cup of coffee. That'll distract.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the coffee anymore to distract from it, something else will come up because it's just being used as a distractant. And you need something else to fill that role unless you
Mhm.
get used to just, okay, let me sit with this discomfort. That thing that is there, which is causing you to just immediately get up and get another cup of coffee. That's the thing that's really calling for your attention to just sit with, be with, feel into, ask into, work with that because that is the underlying thing which is going to propel you into some addiction, regardless of what it is.
Mm.
It might make it
Yeah.
easier. I mean, the caffeine, like I said, can numb it, and it can be also not just a distraction, but something where it's like actively suppressing it. So you might find that if you do come off of the caffeine, it actually becomes more easy to feel that there is something there that is calling
Yeah.
to your attention.
That's kind of what I'm afraid of. Do I really want to go there?
Yeah, I get it. I'm thinking of I had a patient once years and years and years ago. She was had her own business and she was super successful and she came to me because she wanted to be more efficient and she was sleeping 4 hours a night except on Wednesdays where she didn't sleep at all. And she would like to be more efficient in her everyday life. And she was on everything on the planet that, makes you not sleep and makes you completely numb. And when we had the conversation, I said, I'm so sorry. I mean, I can only help you with feeling your body and getting back into the now. I can't help you with being more violent towards yourself. So she stopped. We couldn't work together, obviously.
Right,
Because
right.
what you're saying is exactly that. If I'm not sure I'm ready for that. And like we said, there's no rush in doing it. There are a lot of benefits of being present in the moment. There are a lot of benefits, but it also comes with you need to go through the filthy attic before you come to the good part of the house.
No.
There's a lot of stuff that needs to be looked at. Why do you think that you need to be so efficient in life? Why do you think that all the things you do and can and say that counts more than who you are? If you were never to do anything anymore, would you be enough? Would you be sufficient? So it's really looking into all those ideas you have about who you are, write all of it down, and you will see most of it is not about who you are. It's about what you can, what you say, and what you do.
Huh.
And caffeine is maintaining that delusion.
Yeah. Yeah, that intellectually that even makes sense for sure.
Yeah.
I will look into that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if you do, it's fine. And if you don't, it's fine.
Yeah.
And you're not.
That's why I love you guys.
Yeah. Yeah, you're okay no matter what.
Exactly.
We love you no matter
Yeah.
we love you no matter what.
We do. For the record, though, decaf is still delicious.
It is.
Okay, I gotta find a good brand.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Bye. And we got Rowena.
Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
New haircut.
No, it's just
Oh,
Is
it's just really back. Okay. It looked very
um,
short.
I know. I get annoyed with it, so I tie it back.
You're
Yeah.
allowed to have a bun.
Yeah, so actually just carrying on from the conversation that you had with Saad, there was something, and I've been processing on and off, it rears its unattractive head of a situation that came, and I had a lot of, in a way, self-recrimination unjustly, but it was a sort of default pattern against myself. It wasn't to do with my husband's death or anything. And it reared itself up again today. And so the house was burgled and they went through all my clothes and everything and stole all my valuable things. And this was in July. And I did plenty of work, and I did plenty of meta practice on the I call them the magpies. But sometimes I would, when I went into the drawers, I would get anxiety because there was still this sort of looking,
Yeah.
somehow a habit of looking, you know. And then so I was looking at that today, and then you were in your conversation with Saad, you said, well, what are you holding on to? What are you getting from? And then there was an immediate sort of like, oh yeah, I am holding on. So I'm getting something from this. And there was very split second. So I obviously wasn't going into it. But then I realized, then anger came up. I could
Yeah.
feel a healthy, whereas before I had felt victimized, I felt insecure. And I've had a history of turning anger always on me rather
Yeah.
than just being able to feel it. And so it was the use of that question
Yeah.
when something's lurking and then allowing, because I was still going in the wrong way.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to share that.
That's wonderful. That's
Yeah,
wonderful. I love the way that you see through, because it is understandable that you open a drawer and then what you're looking for is not there anymore, and then you feel that fear coming up. That is a normal reaction. At some point, it will turn over to anger. The healthy
yeah,
reaction is anger. What the fuck? You know,
Yeah.
that
yeah,
is a healthy reaction. And the next one is equanimity. It's acceptance of
yeah.
what is. But you need to go through the
The
anger.
whole thing.
And if you have not a history about being a hissy fit and being one of those that, show and display your anger and feel your anger, that is the messy attic you need to go through,
Yeah,
like we talked about before. That is, you need to feel that. But the
yeah,
healthy anger, the healthy one that creates boundaries, that has that very clear boundary of, healthy me and you, and having that very, very clear distinction. So
yeah.
wonderful.
The feeling was sort of like anxiety, and it felt, yeah, there was like there was yang. It was like there was something that couldn't come out, and
Yeah,
then it felt almost instantaneous
yeah,
that the energy that just came up after what are you holding on to just felt clean
yeah. Wonderful.
instead of
Yeah. Yeah,
blocked.
mucky. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Thank you, Sad.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you,
Yeah.
Saad. Wonderful. Thank you.
I always love how one person will bring something up and how it's
I
so
know. I know.
relevant
We're
to
so connected. We're so
curious things for
connected.
other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi again, Sunie.
Hello.
Hi, very quick question.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's regarding the coffee because I had a long period of time where I didn't drink coffee because I had been ill and it didn't taste good and it was really tough not to drink coffee, but I just didn't feel like it and I had the addiction for a couple of days and it was horrible. But then I started drinking coffee again lately, and because as Patty says it, there are certain things around it that are really social, like having the morning coffee in the weekend when you have breakfast time together. But is decaf really decaf? Is it, I mean, will it be so that I'm not numbing to drink decaf or what?
I don't understand the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Decaf is not addictive.
Well,
It doesn't have nicotine
yeah.
in it.
I was gonna say. I mean, you can use anything as
Yeah.
a numbing agent. The caffeine itself, like that decaf coffee, doesn't have that sort of chemical numbing agent, but we can still use anything as a sort of addiction, and even if it's just bananas drinking
But
water with a certain.
Sunday coffee and wanting, to have that cozy thing, you can have that with decaf.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more about
It's like
it.
if you have that, it's raining and it's autumn and it's cold and you want a cup of hot cocoa, but then you go vegan and then you can't have cocoa anymore. But you just have vegan cocoa. I
Mm,
mean, it's the same thing. It's still that thing connected, hot cocoa
yeah,
with rainy weather, or a cup of coffee with a Sunday breakfast, with family. It's still that metaphor, what you can say, that is still intact.
yeah.
It's just it it's just accommodating.
Yeah, because I like that in the weekend, but now it has expanded on weekdays as well
Yeah, yeah,
on my work. And I'm a
yeah,
bit annoyed of it. And
yeah.
I'm like, I
Go
have two
decaf.
cups of, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Go decaf.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then also, like you said, that you were without it when you were sick because it just didn't taste right and didn't feel right. It would be easy for you to go back with decaf. But if you obviously, like Patty, starts to realize that there are some things that you use the caffeine to completely crush your boundaries and do way more than a healthy boundary shows you where that is, then work with whatever comes up, because that is what caffeine does. It helps you cross a boundary.
But it is also because I feel that it escalates.
Yes.
It
Mhm.
goes up in number.
Oh yeah, yeah. But it's
And
like that with anything. any numbing agent always needs to escalate because the receptors shut down.
Mm.
And it's fine, like on your Sunday morning coffee, that's just cozy. But if you notice, like just before on the weekday, when you're going to get a cup of coffee, feel into the body in that moment. And what is here that actually makes you want the coffee now? Because it doesn't have that social connection element. So what is it? Is it performing a function? Is it because like, oh, it just actually sounds really tasty. I would just really love a cup of coffee. Or is there something else that that's being used for to distract yourself from or to not feel then?
I think it's the reluctance to start working at the job on the workday. It's like postponing a bit.
Exactly.
And then you have a cup of coffee in the morning to get you going to work, and then you have a glass of red wine in the evening to as a reward for being at the work that you hate. Yeah.
That's pointing to a much bigger
issue. It's a bigger issue than caffeine.
Could we just focus on the coffee then?
Let's go back to Saad.
No, that was just it because I don't know about the decaf, but if it could take the Sunday morning, and
beautiful,
that'll be fine.
Absolutely. Yeah, we don't have to give up any of these things like that are just nice traditions, cozy things. That's fine. The one place, talking like Fifth Fetter, that it's good to recognize though is if, like you said, like it's cold and it's snowy out, and I really want a cup of coffee, or I mean a cup of cocoa, and then I can't get the cup of cocoa. Are you okay with that being the possibility? If there's like an addiction to it where like now it's going to throw me into a tailspin and I'm going to ruminate about the fact that I didn't get my cocoa today, and I'm going to tell everybody about how I got somehow for whatever reason didn't get my cocoa and now I'm miserable. That's something that also needs to be looked into.
That's a completely different ballgame.
Completely different ballgame.
But yeah, big thing as well.
Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna tell everyone about it. That's amazing. Thank you, Sunie.
Thanks. Bye.
I'm gonna tell everyone about it. Wonderful. Okay, I think that's it then.
Amazing. And I saw that there was a chat thing I just wanted to catch because we haven't been watching that. Thank you again for the manicures. Orlena said, wow, this discussion about past memories have relevance to current experience as a timestamp clip. Yeah. I have to go. I have a question though. Okay. Rebecca's going to ask a question on Discord.
Okay.
So we will cover that next Friday.
Yeah.
Is the chat timestamped? Wonder if typing into the stamps here would work if the chat is saved after. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
don't think the chat is saved because this is not on YouTube.
The chat saves.
Yeah, but not on the video.
No. But for us to go in afterwards and have
it would work when we have the Q&A that is live, because I always make the chat available. So in the chat, the timestamps would work.
That's true. The Friday one would work.
Yeah.
And I do believe that the chat is timestamped when we get the text document of it. I'm pretty sure it's got the timestamps in it when each person has.
But then you need to take that and put it into the comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're piling on work, babe.
We are.
But it doesn't work.
Well, we're getting closer. I appreciate the ideas.
Yeah.
And then Orlena said, as for changing addiction, I have had a habit of drinking a beer or wine between 4 to 7 p.m. Don't know why, just during those hours that the craving happens. Someone suggested trying non-alcoholic beer, and I thought it would give me the same taste, but once I tried different non-alcoholic beers, I found that some are really just as tasty as the real beer. Haven't tried non-alcoholic wine, but I'm choosing to put the wine out of sight so it won't attract my attention. And like a magnet, it seems to trigger automatic behavior. Pour a glass of that delicious Trader Joe's Red Blend. That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is helpful to find these little sort of intermediary things to see whether it's the caffeine or the alcohol which is actually performing a function, or whether it's just the ritual act of having the thing, whatever it is. Even if it's like I'm used to drinking a liter of water between 4 and 7 p.m. every night, and if I don't get that, well, okay, clearly there's not much of a chemical thing that it's doing, maybe a little bit, but not the same as alcohol or caffeine. So what is that providing for me? Is it like Sunie said, is it something where like this is my reward to myself for having had a day of just selling my soul to the
To the
office,
man.
yeah, to the man, and now this is my time to reward myself in some way by
And you
having
know,
my liter of water.
you're so vanilla.
You thought cornflakes was like a super
That is
decadent thing.
decadent. That cornflakes is decadent. The bar in this household. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, guys.
So,
But I'm sitting and thinking, you actually have somewhere
yeah.
some really, really good pointers. I think it's in the fifth
Okay.
about that, where having just when you get that urge for a glass of wine or having a beer or something like that or a cup of coffee, the exercise is and the inquiry is not about not drinking it.
Yeah.
It's about looking into what is actually happening here, because a lot of times we have like, ooh, an idea in our mind. Ooh, there's like, ooh, that like Orlena says, oh, that's the red wine. And immediately we can smell it and we can taste it, and that is what we are trying to fulfill. But if you in this moment can smell it and taste it, do you still want it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not so much that, yeah, hell yeah. It's more that really feel into that, because a lot of times it's just like all the other millions of thoughts that is happening during the day. It's just a thought coming up. Oh, we got cake in the fridge. Oh, I want a piece of cake.
Yeah.
And you can see the cake on your plate, and you can taste the cake, how it's going to taste. And delicious, delicious. Do you then need it? Or was that actually what the mind wanted? Just that.
Yeah.
So it's not about not doing it. It's just noticing what is it that is that trickle effect that is happening.
And it can also be a curious inquiry to do. Like if you have that urge, okay, it's 4 o'clock, I'm getting the urge to have a glass of wine. First of all, check in with the body. What are you feeling? What is the pull for the wine? Like you just said, notice any images in the mind, go through all of that to see what is even propelling you, what is giving you the idea that I am even craving wine at this moment. Once you get all of that, wring all of the juice out of that inquiry as you can and see what is really here. Do you really need it? What is being misconstrued as craving when it's really just tastes and sights and all of that? And then if you want, go and actually get the wine. But notice what has happened. What is the state of the body before the wine? What is the state of the body in the anticipation of pouring the wine into the glass? How does that make you feel? How does that change the state of the mind and the body? And then as you're getting ready to drink the wine, notice what that is doing to the state of the body and the mind. And then as you drink the wine, you notice how that is feeling. And so the entire way across, you can do it as a mindfulness exercise to really see how every step of that changes the experience in the body, the emotions, the mental thoughts, and all of that moment by moment.
And also in that can also notice the part about impermanence that happens, that in our minds we have that constant plus one plus one plus one that we want one, that we are sitting and, oh, but I really really want this glass of wine. Okay, now you're getting up. And you're standing with the glass of wine. Okay, but I also want to pour the wine. Then I'm happy. When I'm pouring the wine, then I'm happy. I just want to smell it. Then you pour the wine and you smell it. Now I also want to taste it. It's that contentment. It's so fleeting. And when you have had the full glass of wine, you're not more content or more happy or more anything. Now you just want another one, or you want a brownie.
Yeah.
So it's that constant constant discontentment that is here because of impermanence. Hi, Orlena.
Hello again.
Thank you so much for bringing it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was actually, sorry, it's right at the end of the time, but this is perfect discussion, because I've been sort of struggling with that for number of, I guess, years, and because there's a massive impact on my family with addiction. My father, my sister, and my son all died of it.
Oh, wow.
And my other sister now is really struggling deeply in her alcoholism. So I know that this is not a good path for me to go down in any way. Plus, I also know that it has negative impacts on my brain and my physical function in my spiritual pursuits. It's not adding any benefit
Yeah.
to what I really want in my life.
Yeah.
But it's the most peculiar thing that
Yeah.
I have not the slightest bit of interest all day long until after 4 o'clock. And sometimes I'll just notice the time and go, oh, it's
Yeah.
having a drink time.
Beer
And
o'clock.
I don't associate it with anybody in my family that had that kind of habit or ritual about a certain time we all get out our drinks.
Yeah.
But that's always been the most peculiar thing. It's like, why during then? And then later on, 2 or 3 hours later, not there anymore. And so yeah, I haven't been drinking for 2 or 3 weeks. And so I still notice the draw around that period of time. It's the strangest thing. So I will try to pay more attention to what is it that it's giving me that
Yeah.
I think it gives me.
Yeah.
Because really, I never drink to get drunk. I just want the taste.
It could. I'm sitting and going into the biochemistry of things,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting and thinking of you could try to take zinc picolinate 25 milligrams in the morning, and then make sure that you eat enough protein between you know from when you wake up until around 2 o'clock. So you make sure that you have enough zinc of the right type. It has to be picolinate. Yeah.
What are
Um,
you saying? What is that word
Zinc.
you're saying?
Sync.
Huh?
Yeah, but percolinate?
Yeah, PICCPCOOL. I can't spell in English. Um, yeah. It's a
And
type of zinc.
you get that from protein sources. Is that what
No,
you're
no,
saying?
no. You buy that as a supplementation. You can get it on Amazon.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Yeah, there may be something to that because I don't eat very much. I have both cereal or I have protein drink in the morning, but in the afternoon, the only thing I eat is an apple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you might need, because when we get that craving for sweet stuff, it's because the insulin level is too late and too low, and by that time it's like it's too late to do anything. You need to do that ahead of time. And that is making sure you get enough protein between like 10 and 2, and make sure that you get zinc every day.
And it's PICOLINATE, picolinate.
And you need a minimum of 25 milligrams. The most normal you can get here is 30 milligrams. But if you get that, and then make sure you have protein between 10 and 2, then that will stabilize your sugar.
Oh, that's great because I do know about picolinate because I've recommended it to my friends who have
Yeah.
sugar addiction. But I
Yeah.
don't really have a sugar
No,
addiction.
no, no, but you have addiction in the family. Same.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
the
but I mean,
the biochemistry of addiction and sugar addiction is the same.
right. But then I just reminded me that I don't usually have any kind of a craving or any for sugar in general,
No.
sweets.
Yeah.
I can pass on those really easy.
Yeah.
Except between those period of time, late afternoon, I get a craving for a little brownie, just a
Yeah,
little bit.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it is because you're low in protein between 10 and 2 in the morning, and you lack zinc.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's fabulous. I'm so glad to hear that there's just not some vague weirdness that
No,
happens.
no,
That
no,
there's
no. Biochemistry. It's biochemistry. Chemistry always wins. Yeah.
I get I'm going for it. I'll feed back. I'm gonna do that.
Wonderful.
Look forward to
Wonderful.
hearing that.
So
It's
happy.
amazing.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I'm happy you found your way here.
Yeah, it's good to have you back.
Yeah.
I've been away, away,
Yeah.
but I'm
It happens. It happens. But we're glad to have you back. It's
Yeah.
good to see you again.
me too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Oh.
Okay, I think that's it.
I think
You
so.
also have a session.
Yeah, I do. I gotta get ready.
Can we?
Pernille?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wrote you in the chat. It's a quick
Oh,
question. It's not in this chat. It's on the WhatsApp.
Okay. Okay.
At some point, please look.
Okay. Shoot.
Very short. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi.
All right, everyone. Thank you all. Oh, yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here.
Yeah, it's been
So
great.
good seeing you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Have a great week.
Hi, Suze.
Bye. Hey.